Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how you can use a simple tin of tomatoes, some onions and some garlic and come up with the most wonderful tomato sauce. That can be the base of a lot of other sauces and a lot of other dishes that will be really quick and easy to make when you want a meal in a hurry. So let's start by taking a tin of tomatoes. I'm going to use chopped tomatoes, but if you use whole tomatoes, just put a potato masher through them and they'll become chopped. Or if you don't want a lumpy sauce, you want a smoother sauce, use a bottle or a tin of tomato passata, which is strained tomatoes. So we're going to start off and we're going to fry some onions. I've got some onions that I've chopped and I'm going to pop them into a saucepan with some oil. We do our onions in a very quick way and not the way that most other people do. We don't do them slowly. We do them on a very, very high heat. And we just watch them, and as they start to brown, we turn them. And then they start to brown again, and we turn them. The reason for that is onions have got sugars in them, and they'll start to caramelize the sugar in the onion. That's what will make it go brown. And then you stir it so all the caramel browny part goes into it, and you do it a few times. If you want to slow the process down a bit, you can put a bit of onion onto it, salt onto your onions, and that will draw out some of the water and just slow the whole browning process down a wee bit. So let's turn the heat on, and there we go. Let's brown those onions. While you're browning them, I'm going to just explain what we're going to do. We're then going to take some garlic and we're going to chop it. I prefer not to chop. If you want to chop, you can. I prefer just to squeeze the garlic through a garlic press. I just find that very quick and easy, and particularly for me, who doesn't have super strong right hand, just doing that has given me instantly some really good garlic. Now, you never fry onions and garlic together. You always do them separately. So we'll leave that there. And we will, once the onions are browned, we'll add our garlic to it, just let it become a little translucent, only 30 seconds, 40 seconds, almost to warm through. If garlic goes brown, it goes bitter and doesn't taste good. Now, most of the time we use garlic that's dried through the year, but at this time of the year, in the spring, you can get garlic that's green and it's fresh. It smells fantastic. It's something quite different to use to dried garlic. So if you're able at the moment to see any dried garlic in your greengrocers, do buy some and try it. Use it exactly the same way. It just has a lovely, lovely fresh flavor. And all you do is in the same way as using other garlic, just peel off the outside skin. At this stage, it's not dry, it's wet. Peel it off, and then you're left with your clove of garlic that you can chop if you want to, or you can squeeze. I can hear those onions behind me starting to sizzle. So I'm going to have a quick look at them, see what they look like, and give them a little stir. They're sizzling, but there's no color. As soon as they've got a little color, I'll show you. I'm just spreading them out and I'm not stirring. If you stir, you're going to keep them white because that's stir frying, like you do in Chinese food. Move it all the time. We want the heat coming from the bottom of the pan to get nice and hot and caramelize those sugars that are in the onion. You can't see them, they're invisible sugar in the onion. And we want that to go brown. And as soon as that happens, I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to show it to you. We're then going to add a tin of tomatoes to our sauce, and we're going to add some tomato puree, dried tomato puree. You can buy that in the supermarket in a tube, or if you want to make your own, you can buy dried tomatoes in oil. Just blitz them up and you'll get a puree. Now there we go. We're just starting to go golden. Let me bring it over and show you right close to the camera. Over here, you can see they're just starting to go brown. I'm going to give it a stir. I'm going to put it back on the heat. And I'm going to let it brown some more. And in no time at all, we're going to have some lovely brown tomatoes. So, onions and browned onions. There the onions are, browning our tomatoes, our pureed tomatoes, our garlic. And we're going to add some parsley that I chopped earlier. And then we're just going to leave it to cook down. It's as simple as that. Don't season even at the beginning, we'll season at the end, because if you put the salt in at the beginning and your sauce concentrates, it could become quite salty. These are going to brown quite quickly. I'll come and show you, they've gone a wee bit browner. Here we go. They're not going to need much longer. I'm sure you can see how brown they've gone. Let's do that. Oopsie, they're falling to the bottom. Never mind, I'll lift them to show you. You can see they're already starting to go golden. So one more little cook like that, they'll be a golden brown, and then I'll add the garlic to them just for a moment. But that is going to give us quite a thick tomato sauce. What we want to do is we want it to cook for a while. So we're going to add some water to it. I'll put some water into the tin, swill all of the goodness out in the tin. Nice lot of water in the sauce, and then we'll just let it cook down slowly. So I'm sure our onions, they are really a gorgeous golden brown. I'll lift them up on the spoon just to show you. You can see they're golden brown. And I'm going to add the garlic to it. Pop the garlic in. There we go, garlic in. And I'll give it a little stir. There we go. You can see it's just literally sizzling, that's all. It's not colouring at all, sizzling. Add the tin tomatoes. Add the parsley. And add the passata. And I'm going to turn it down a bit. And I'm going to leave that to cook. But you'll recall I said we need some extra water. So I'm going to put some more water. I'll have to put some water from the tap, nice cold water, into the sauce. There we go. And that will lengthen it. It's quite liquidy now. I'll show you that. I've got a tiny bit of parsley in here that I'll just rinse out, pop that in. And there we go. That is a really, really quick and lovely tomato sauce. I'll show you, it's quite liquidy, but we're not worried about it. I want it liquidy now because we want all those tomatoes and tomato passata and onions and garlic. I think you can see, oopsie, there we go, how liquidy it is. There we go, it's quite liquidy, it looks like a soup. But we want that to just cook down, and it's going to cook until it's a nice thick sauce. A sauce shouldn't be clumpy and close. A sauce should be not soupy, but just not having water coming out of it, but still have a liquidiness to it. Tomato sauce. And from that, we're going to make a whole gamut of different things. So while that cooks, I'm going to show you a tomato soup that my mother used to make. It's so easy that it's almost a treat. You almost feel when you have this tomato soup prepared in 15 minutes, 10 minutes. It's fresh, and at this time of the year, just gorgeous. Lovely to have hot, and also really gorgeous if you chill it down. Very herby, full of tomatoes, and just gorgeous. So what I'm going to do is very, very similar, but slightly different to the sauce. I'm going to start with a saucepan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with some garlic. It's rather garlicky. So it's garlicky and parsley-ish. Garlic and parsley are really good companions. They give things a lovely flavor, very Italian as well, French, Spanish, not very European probably. And so we're going to take the cloves of garlic and we're just going to pop them in to the container, into a saucepan. I'm going to just squeeze it directly into here. Nice lot of garlic. They're big cloves. The recipe calls for 4 cloves, but these are really big. So, oopsie, Oopsie, it's flying everywhere. There we go. That's probably almost full already. I'll add one more for good luck because it's so delicious. There we go. Just put it in deep. There we go. That's all of that lovely, and as you can see, it just looks so fresh. It's got a totally different look and feel to it, fresh garlic. It's almost grassy in some ways, really, really fresh. Okay, so there our garlic is. And I'm going to add to that the oil, garlic and oil. Okay. And then I'm going to add let that just warm up for a moment. So let's pop that in front, and we're just going to let the garlic and oil just warm up a wee bit and start to sizzle. Then we're going to add to that some parsley, surprise, surprise, some chopped tomatoes, and some passata. Now, if you want to, you can add chicken stock to it, or most people actually these days, because there's so many vegans, prefer to use a chicken, instead of chicken, a vegetable bouillon. So we'll use a vegetable bouillon, and in fact, I'm going to not even mix it with boiling water, because boiling water makes it go a bit more quickly, but I'm going to just add cold water to this, and then there we go. This is just sizzling. All it is, you can see, is a sizzle, nothing more than a sizzle. And then we're going to add our tin of tomato to it. There we go. Tin of tomato, not dissimilar to the tomato sauce actually in some ways. There we go. We'll add our tin of tomato, our parsley, our passata, and we're going to just let that cook on its own for a few minutes. Just to let it cook through. And I'm doing it on quite a high heat, just to let it all mush together. I'm stirring it, mixing it all together. So it's almost, except without the onions, your tomato sauce that we made. Suppose you could call it tomato sauce without onions at this point. And in fact, it would be a very nice tomato sauce if it had some more liquid in it. So I'm going to take 2 cups of water that the recipe calls for. I'm going to rinse this out because I can't bear to leave any of the tomato goodness behind. I'll pop that in there. There's a tiny bit of parsley. Let's use that as well. Then we require 2 teaspoons of tomato, this isn't a tomato bouillon, of bouillon to a pint of liquid. But in fact, I'm just going to take it and I'm just going to put it in here cold. 1, 2 teaspoons, and when I put it into the soup, it's going to come to boil. So there really wasn't any reason to have to add boiling water and boil the bouillon twice. So we're just going to leave this to cook for a bit, 5 minutes, that's all it needs. And then we're going to add the stock to that. And that, dear people, is the most delicious tomato soup. Very much based on the recipe of the tomato sauce, but without onions in it. This has been a family favorite for years. Before it was cool, when I was a child, you didn't eat parsley and garlic. My mother liked it. So we grew up with this very easy tomato soup. If you don't like it quite as full of tomatoes and herbs floating around in it, then you can blitz it with a little, just put a little hand blitzer, put it through the processor or something like that. And the last thing I've got to put in is a tiny bit of herb. I'm putting into it some oregano. You can put in anything you like, and at the very end, I'll put in some basil. Basil doesn't cook. Basil loses its flavor when you cook it. So we're not going to cook the basil because it would be a pity to use it. But at the very end, when you're ready to serve your soup, you can shred basil, and you can put some shredded basil into your soup. You will have a most delicious tomato soup, really fresh. And if you want it in this hot weather as cold soup, as I said earlier, chill it well and then serve it cold. So there we go. That is our tomato sauce done. And we've got some soup cooking now. I would say if you're doing a tomato sauce, make it 3 times. When I did the preparation for this class, I made 3 times the tomato sauce that we needed. It freezes fantastically. At Cookery School, we always freeze any leftover tomato sauce because we use it in pizzas as toppings for pizzas, and we use it in shakshuka. We use it for lots of different things. So I'm going to start off by showing you how to make a aubergine parmigiano. It is so easy, so delicious, and when you eat it in a restaurant, you would not believe that it's quite as simple to make as this one is. So I'm going to make a small one. I'm going to put it into a small dish, enough for 2 people, and it doesn't have pasta in it, it's layered, but it's the aubergine that is layered. And what I did earlier is I just took 2 small aubergines, cut them into circles like that, put them onto a baking sheet with a bit of oil, just make sure they were a bit oily, and put them into the oven. Hot oven, 250, probably took me 10 minutes, 12 minutes, and out came these bits of aubergine. They're going to cook again, so don't worry if they're uneven in the color, because as they cook, they're going to soften. So this is cooking away the soup. Just watch it. We're only going to give that about 10 minutes. So it's probably had 3 or 4 already, and we'll just give that a little while longer. I'm keeping an eye on the sauce. It's also very watery. The difference is we want the soup to be watery. We don't want the sauce watery. We want the sauce to reduce and become strong. But as it does that, the tomatoes are going to cook more, the parsley will soften in it, and the passata will mix with it. So we're going to have a really flavoursome sauce. Okay, back to our Parmigiano. What do we need for it? You need, of course, your aubergines. You need your basic tomato sauce. And you need some, there we go, and you need some Parmesan. So there we go. Let's just take that and move that out the way. And we'll start off by putting a bit of tomato sauce, whoops, bit of a mess, bit of tomato sauce on the bottom of the tray. There it is. I'm just going to clean up, because I don't like working messily. So let's clean this up and clean up. I'll just give this a rinse out quickly. Okay, and I think that soup, I'm going to turn down a bit. I'm going to add a little more fried onion to the tomato sauce. I fried that earlier, just so I would have it ready. But I didn't put it in because I wanted to show you how to fry a small amount of onion quickly. So I've added the onion that I fried earlier to the sauce. I should have added it at the beginning, but it just is going to make it a little oniony, more oniony, which I like. It'll give the sauce a little more flavor. In the same way as I said to you, if you are making tomato sauce, make it a few times. I would say the same things. If you're with onion, if you're frying onion, fry a lot of onion and keep it, put it in the fridge. You can keep it for a few days in the freezer. But fried onion is the basis of so many dishes, and especially if you're in a hurry, you don't have to start chopping and frying onions. They're already done for you. Do the job once and you've got it. Then I'm going to take the aubergines and I'm just going to put them into the dish, layer them like that, so that the whole of the bottom is covered with a layer of aubergines. You can see they weren't huge aubergines, they were quite little ones, but that was fine. I'm then going to put a very thin layer of tomato sauce over the top. I put tomato sauce on the bottom to start it because then it won't stick, that the tomato sauce will stop the aubergine from sticking to the dish, just a little. And then I'm going to take grated Parmesan, and I'm just going to sprinkle it over the top quite generously, because a real Parmigiano only has Parmesan in the middle. A lot of people put a bechamel in a Parmigiano, but that really isn't a true one. We're showing here, you're learning how to make a proper one. Then we're going to put another layer of the aubergines, the baked aubergine. There we go. And the tomato sauce over the top of that. At this time, I want a lot of tomato sauce. I want the whole lot really covered well with tomato sauce. I think there's enough here. If there's not, I'll borrow a little more because I divided it between a few dishes. No, I think that's it. There we go. I am going to borrow another spoonful, just one spoonful, to make it really luxuriant. Because all I did was I made a lot of tomato sauce and then divided it between a few dishes so that I had it to use for the things, the various things I want to show you today. So that is your Parmigiana, and all I'm going to do now is I'm going to sprinkle it very heavily this time. We really want to taste Parmesan cheese, and it's all going to melt. The rest of it's not very oily or fatty. I used very little oil when I did the aubergines so that they wouldn't be too oily, and our main fat is going to come from the Parmesan. I'm going to just coat it really, really well so that there's no tomato peeping through, just lovely Parmesan. And in fact, I'm such a Parmesan addict, I'm going to just add the rest of it. There's not much left in here. There we go, make it a real treat. And then what I'm going to do, give it a good shake down to make sure it's all well covered. And that's it. When I'm ready to eat it later, all that we're going to do is pop it in the oven for about half an hour or until it's heated through well, half an hour at least, I would say, and it'll be bubbly and hot and gorgeous. Parmigiana, real one. I'll pop that there. Let's have a little look. The soup is ready. The soup's looking very soupy and very delicious. And there the soup is. How can I show it to you? What I'm going to do is I think I'm going to take a ladle and just put some into a bowl so that you can see how soupy it is. But there's one very, very important thing with everything you have to taste. Don't trust the fact that it will just taste good. I'm going to take it and I'm going to taste the salt. It doesn't need any salt at all. It's just perfect, actually. And I love salt. It does have a little film of oil on the top, but that is characteristic of the soup. A lot of it will have boiled into the soup. If you wanted to blitz it, it would go in. If you put it into a liquidizer and blitzed it, it would just be absorbed into the soup. And that's how soupy it is. It's got a little bits of tomato in it. Now, if you want to make it even fresher, and it's this time of the year, you can take some tomatoes, fresh tomatoes, just blitz them, and add some fresh tomatoes to your soup. And that will add a little tiny bit of freshness to the soup. And I'm going to add this. I'm just going to bring it up to the boil once. And then we will have a tomato soup that's got fresh tomatoes in it, as well as tin tomatoes. The recipe asks you to use fresh tomatoes or a second tin of tomatoes. You can do that, or you can make it with just one tin of tomatoes. There's not a right or wrong. The amounts given to you are to give you a guidance, but really it's such a forgiving soup that you can add and subtract things from it. So there we have our herby tomato soup, and we have our rich tomato, totally made the soup, and the rich tomato sauce just cooking away. The tomato soup, the tomato sauce, I really want to chop down and cook down until it's really quite thick, and then we can use it for other things. Perhaps what we can do with that is we can even take it, and I can show you how it looks if it's blitzed, because it is delicious. So what else can we do with a tomato sauce? Well, here is a little bit of tomato sauce. If we add a tiny bit of saffron to it, it'll give it a little more interest. I've already tasted it for salt. I'll just sprinkle a little bit of saffron onto it. I'm not going to cook it for you now, but I'm going to show you, as with the Parmigiana, get everything ready for cooking. I'm going to add the saffron to stir it around in the soup, and then I'm going to take some seafood. The only thing I have in my fridge at the moment is I had a few haddock fillets, and I had a couple of prawns, fresh prawns. I'm just going to put them in to the sauce. And then when I'm ready to eat tonight, all I will do is I will take this. I can either put it into a saucepan, or if you are super lazy, you can put it into the microwave for a couple of bursts, 2 minutes a time, and your sauce will thicken up and be absolutely gorgeous, and your fish will go white, and the saffrony sauce will give you an absolutely perfect fish stew with no problem at all. You've made all your tomato sauce in advance. So there we go, have it. A really, really gorgeous fish stew. And if you want to, you can add some extra parsley on top of it before you serve it. You can even add some croutons with some rouille to make it more sophisticated, but you have a very beautiful fish stew over there. If you want it as a fish soup, just add a bit of fish stock or a little bit of boiling water with some stock in it to lengthen it a little, and it'll be a bit soupier. But there you go, fish stew. I'm putting it in the fridge because it's a very, very hot day, and things go off very quickly in the heat. So we've got to be super careful. Just giving my hands a wash, and there we go. So what else can we do with our soup? Well, here we go. Shakshuka. Shakshuka is really everyone's favorite at the moment. And what I did was I took some peppers. I took red peppers, yellow peppers, and green peppers, the same time as I did the little aubergines that I sliced with the Parmigiana. I just sliced these in slices, put them onto the tin, put a bit of oil on, and there we go. I've got ready grilled or baked, and I've got them a little brown on the top so that they've got some color, gives them some flavor. And I'm going to take those and I'm going to put them into this mixture. Here we go. Let's take just a bit of that. You're not going to need a lot. I'm going to actually cook this all the way for you. So we've got the tomato sauce there. I'm going to take some of the peppers, a mixture of the peppers, and I'm going to pop them in, some yellow ones, green and red. I'm going to pop them in to the tomato sauce, and there's some juice from them. Oh, some nice juice. I'm going to pop that in, just make it taste better. And I'm going to take that and I'm going to add a bit of cumin to it. Has been tasted for salt and seasoning, so I know it tastes good. Let's take some cumin and I'm going to pop some cumin in. Cumin gives you that flavor. Smells like I'm in the Middle Eastern market here now. And I'm just going to take that, going to mix it together, and I'm going to put it onto the heat. And I'm going to let it all warm up. When it's nice and hot, I'm going to make a hole in the middle, like that, and pop an egg in, and just let it cook away. And I will then have our tomato sauce, but used in a shakshuka. So you can see how versatile it is. And let's just pop that in here. And I'll just let it slowly warm up. Oh, see, I forgot. Here we go. Tomato soup off completely. Let's bring the tomato sauce to the front. Now that I've got the soup off. Here the tomato sauce is. It's becoming lovely and thick. I'm just going to turn it down, let it cook for a little while longer. I think what I'm going to do, just to show you how you can blitz a sauce and get it really lovely and smooth rather than chunky, I will blitz the sauce that we've just made for you. I'll put a hand blitzer through it. So let's have a quick revise on what we've been through. We have made a tomato sauce, and from the tomato sauce, we have made a Parmigiana. We've made a fish stew that just needs to be cooked. Our Parmigiana needs to be cooked in the oven. Your fish stew can even be cooked in the oven or in a microwave or in the saucepan. And people are always saying, how do you know when fish is cooked? Fish is cooked when it goes milky and it's not translucent in the middle. You'll see, and that milkiness will go into the sauce. If you're doing it in the microwave, do it, mix it very gently once or twice, put it back in so you don't break the fish. And you'll have a really, really gorgeous fish stew. What else can we do with a tomato sauce? Well, if you want to make a lovely, if you're vegetarian and you want to make a lovely, lovely butter bean or chickpea stew, just take your tin of beans. Let's see if I can open it. Open it, and I'm going to keep the juice. The juice from this, that beans, any pulses are cooked in like this, is called aquafaba. And it suddenly became a very, very, very precious commodity, because aquafaba works in the same way as egg whites do for vegans. So if you keep that aquafaba and you, there we go, that's empty. You can even freeze it if you don't want to use it straight away. And you keep that aquafaba. There are a few beans just dropped in here. If you keep this and you beat it up and you add a bit of garlic to it, you add slowly in the same way, but not by hand. You do need a machine to really emulsify it. You'll get the most beautiful vegan aioli. Or if you beat it in a machine until it's really frothy and you slowly add sugar to it, you'll get vegan meringue. So very, very valuable. I'm going to pop it into the fridge just to keep it safe. And I'm going to add to the beans, I'm going to add some tomato sauce. There we go, mix it through. And if I cook that, I'll show this to you. If I cook this for a bit, I'm going to have the most beautiful bean stew, which you can have on its own. You could have it alongside rice or polenta, but that is beans have got protein in them. It's the most beautiful vegetarian meal that you've just made instantly. So you can see how good it is to have a supply, whoopsie, there we go, to have a supply of tomato sauce to hand. There are, oh, this smells amazing. I wish you could smell it. It is our shakshuka mixture. Come warm. I'm not going to cook this through because I want to rather just show you what you do. All I have to do is heat this, cook it again, 20 minutes. You can put it in the oven or into the microwave or into a saucepan. I would try not to use the oven unless you have a very full oven. Ovens are not a very sustainable way of cooking unless you've got a lot of stuff in an oven. Because in an electric oven, with all the energy that it takes to heat the oven, you won't believe this, only 12% of that energy goes into heating the oven. The other 88% is lost to the air. If you're doing a roast and potatoes and doing lots of things in the oven at the same time, and all your vegetarian stuff, then it's great to use an oven. But don't just turn on an oven to use for a few things. If you're using a gas oven, it's even less economical. Of all the energy that goes in, the gas that goes to heat that oven, only 6% of it is used to heat the oven and cook in it, and the rest is lost to the atmosphere. So these days we try quite hard to save all our oven cooking to do in one go so that we really use that oven heat well. Here we go, there we go, this is heated through. I'm going to just put it on for a bit more, just to heat a wee bit more. And then I'm going to pop an egg in. There we go. Now, I'd say that sauce is ready for some treatment. So let me just get a hand blitzer and I can blitz the sauce for you so we get a nice smooth one. There we go. Like that in. And then we're all set to go. But as I'm talking to you, I can hear that shakshuka sizzling away like mad. So I'm going to take the shakshuka right now and I'm going to add the egg to it. I don't want it to burn. You can hear it sizzling like mad. You can probably see all that steam rising. I'm going to grab an egg and I'm going to, I'm afraid everything's kept in the fridge at the moment in this very hot weather. So I will grab an egg and I will pop it in. Now, before you do anything with an egg, don't put it straight in to the shakshuka because this egg might not be good. So we tell everyone, before you break an egg directly into something, break it into another container first. And what I'm doing here is I've made a little hole in the middle, little tomato left at the bottom, but a little hole so that the egg can sit surrounded by the peppers. I'm going to break the egg, there we go, into a container, beautiful, beautiful fresh farm egg. I'm going to pop that in, just make sure that there's a nice little nest for it, and in it goes. There it goes. And then I'm just going to wash my hands having used egg. And then what I'm going to do is cover it with a lid so that the top cooks as well. And I'm going to turn the temperature down a bit and I'm going to pop that on to cook here. There we go. I'll just do a little cleanup. I'm working clean in a clean space. Always good to just clean as you go. And I'm going to blitz this bit of sauce for you now. Oh, that sounds very fierce, that heat. I'm turning it right down so that the egg can cook really slowly. There we go. Oopsie, come on. Okay, and here we go. Here our sauce is quite thick. You can see it's quite a thick sauce and it's quite lumpy because it's got chunks of tomato in it, onion, garlic and parsley. And if we just pass this through it, the blitzer, we'll just quickly smooth it. also allows you to decide if you want to leave a few bits in it. So I'll quickly just do this. And there we have a most gorgeous, big, I will show you how much we produce. So you'd be able to do from this batch of tomato, probably 2 or 3 different dishes. There you go. Nice smooth tomato. And I'm just going to leave that on the side there for a bit. I'd like to go over it. What I haven't done is I haven't tasted that for seasoning, and it's really important. Needs a little salt. Some people even put a little sugar into tomato sauce. I personally don't. I think our one is quite sweet actually. So I'm just going to stir that in. Have one more taste to make sure I put in enough salt. And salt's magic. If you eat takeaway food, it's got a lot of salt, as has ready-made supermarket food. But if you're cooking at home, you're allowed a teaspoonful of salt. That's 6 grams a day, 5 grams now actually, it's been lowered. And if you have that, a teaspoon, you'll never eat a teaspoon of salt. If you're cooking at home every day, it's quite a lot of salt. Perfect. Really, really delicious. So, if you've got your tomato sauce, what could you do with it? We've just made it. You could just boil pasta, and you could put a few spoons of tomato sauce onto that. Be generous with it so it's well coated. And that is your bowl of lovely pasta with tomato sauce. You can serve Parmesan grated separately, or you could use any, long ones, what are they called, spaghetti, or anything that you like, any shape, and it'll be delicious. And that is the sort of sauce children love on tomato sauce. If you want to make it a bit more sophisticated for an adult, you could add any, I'm just looking for it. I had it here a moment ago. There we go. You could add chili flakes, some chili flakes to it, or you could add your favorite. This one happens to be Espelette pepper. It's a Spanish one. You can put some Espelette into it. Delicious. Gives you a light bite. Or Tabasco, whatever you like. Or chili powder. A little bit of that. And that gives you a sauce called arrabbiata. And arrabbiata usually is served on penne. Those are the sort of quill-shaped ones. But you can serve it on any pasta that you like, really. And that is what you do there with that. And you, on an ordinary tomato sauce, arrabbiata, or just plain, and you've got 2 lovely pasta sauces. If you wanted it creamier, you could take some mascarpone and just add some mascarpone to your tomato sauce, and you'll get a lovely, rich, creamy tomato sauce. Or you could layer it with sheets of pasta that you can buy, ready-made pasta sheets, and you can even put some spinach or something in between. So this tomato sauce is really, really versatile, especially with pasta. But then there's a real favorite that we have, and that is called puttanesca, hot and spicy. A putta is a tart or a prostitute in Italian, and this sauce that is really hot and spicy is spiced up with capers in vinegar, anchovies, and some olives, generally black. You can use green as well. I've used mainly black with 1 or 2 greens because I had them, and lovely anchovies in oil, what I use. And we're just going to chop them up, and we're going to put them into the sauce. I'm going to just take a little bowl, and again, I won't cook it. I will just show you the beginning of cooking it, of making it. So you take your tomato sauce, there we go, and we're going to spice it up with something a little bit spicy. So I will use this. There we go, a little bit of pepper into it to make it spicy. Then I am going to take the capers, the anchovies, and the olives, and I'm just going to chop them up coarsely. There we go. In fact, the anchovies, you won't even taste or see, because the anchovies will just disappear into the sauce. I haven't, my sauce isn't very salty. I tend to undersalt a bit, so people can add their own salt, because these days, so many people, I'm adding the capers, just chop them coarsely, and then, of course, the anchovy. If you want to, you can add a pinch of salt as well to your sauce if you want to make it a bit more piquant. So it will be a bit sweeter and sour. You can do that. And then I'm just going to take this and pop it all in. There we go. And that is our puttanesca sauce. Your hot and spicy sauce. So there we go, mix it together. And then, doesn't matter if there are a few whole olives, it's just that it's very, and this on pasta is absolutely fantastic. Let me taste it. I wish you could taste everything with me. The taste, each thing has a different taste. It takes on the flavors, additionally, of the fish or of the anchovies and capers and olives. It is just delicious. Or, in the case of the shakshuka, it's taken on the flavor there of the, it's just cooking away. We'll watch that. And for the final thing, what I want to do is show you how you can make polpette in tomato sauce. Just before I started coming on, I took some little balls, I made some little meatballs, and all I'm going to do is pop them into a saucepan. I'm going to put the tomato sauce into a saucepan. There we go. And I'm going to pop these little balls into it, and I'm going to let them just cook away in the tomato sauce until they're cooked. And then, again, you can serve them plain as they are, or else, there you go, I'm just covering them in the tomato sauce, and I will put them on, and they will cook slowly in the tomato sauce so that they will start mixing with it, the taste will come together. And you can, again, serve them on pasta, or you can serve them on their own as little balls in tomato sauce with, you could use, one of my favorite things, of course, is a polenta. With polenta, or as I said, pasta. The choice is yours. Some people might even want them with rice. So we now have gone through a whole gamut of things that you can do with tomato sauce. I'm going to just finally make sure that no one is in any doubt as to everything that we've done. And I'll just quickly run through it all. The tomato sauce, the herby tomato sauce. I know you can do the herby tomato soup very easily. It's very forgiving, and just taste for salt. That's the main thing. Things that are under-seasoned don't taste good. Again, if you want a smooth tomato sauce, blitz it. Soup, if you want a smooth tomato soup, blitz it. Likewise, if you want a smooth tomato sauce, blitz it, as I did. So you can use your tomato sauce on its own. You can have it as a arrabbiata. You can have it as a puttanesca. You can put little balls in it, polpette. You can put fish into it for a fish stew. or you can make shakshuka. Finally, one of the things that is really, or you can put a tin of beans in and make a beautiful vegetarian dish. The final thing that I wanted to say is if you take some of your tomato sauce and into it you add Worcester sauce, soya sauce, and tomato ketchup, and some, I use apple juice instead of sugar. We use concentrated apple juice and some vinegar. Mix it all together and taste it until it gets sweet and sour and sweet and sour. You will have the most beautiful barbecue sauce. And again, if you want to, you can take a tin of beans, pop it into that barbecue sauce, and you'll have your own most delicious homemade beans and tomato, or baked beans. You could bake them even in the oven if you wanted to. So to finish off, I'm going to show you the shakshuka, and hopefully your head is bursting. I'll just grab a dish and to serve them. Hopefully your head is bursting with ideas of what you can do with one humble tin of tomatoes. I'm going to just use it for yogurt because shakshuka is delicious with yogurt. So there we go. There is some homemade yogurt, which we'll use. Here, shakshuka is egg done to a turn. I'll just take that and I'll tipple it out onto here on an egg. There we go. And I will put a little bit of, if you want to, you can put a little bit of paprika or a little chili over the top if you want it. And then I will pop some yogurt on the side, because that is Middle Eastern eggs are very often eaten with yogurt. So I'm just going to pop a bit of yogurt on the side, and that is the shakshuka. Really, really delicious. I hope that you all have had lots of ideas from this. Anything you want to know, please just send us an email to info@Cookery School, and I or one of the other teachers will answer the questions that you have. Enjoy your cooking and look forward to seeing you next week on Wednesday, when we're going to be doing desserts that are delicious but are not bad for you. See you then. Bye.